Young folks, old folks, everybody come to Kids Club and have a lot of fun. Please check your chewing gum and raisins at the door, and we'll tell you Bible stories that you never heard before. Hello, children. I'm Pastor Ted. Get ready. I'm going to read the Bible. You're going to hear a story.
A very long time ago, there was a great king, King Darius. And King Darius had become the emperor of the Babylonian Empire, known as the Empire of the Medes and the Persians. In order to rule this great land, he had a number of local managers, and then he had 3 presidents. And one of those presidents was a man named Daniel. And Daniel was a Jew, and the Jews were slaves in his empire. But King Darius liked Daniel because Daniel did such a wonderful job as being a president. But unfortunately, those other political people, they got jealous of Daniel, and they whispered, and they gossiped, and they connived, and they thought, how can we get rid of Daniel? Because if we could get rid of him, then one of us could get his job as president, and then we could have corruption. And then we could have more power. How are we going to do that, they thought. So they came up with a plan. They went to visit King Darius, and they said, King Darius, long live King Darius. Well, that made the king feel good, right? So they said, let's pass a law. And according to this law, everyone in the empire of the Medes and the Persians would have to worship you, King Darius. And if anybody does not worship you, then they would be thrown into the lion's den and eaten by the lions. Well, King Darius was very flattered. King Darius was a narcissist, and he had a big ego, and to think that everybody in his empire would have to worship him, oh my goodness, I'll sign this law. And so he signed the law, and it became known as one of the laws of the Medes and the Persians. That's what they said. Well, how would Daniel react to this law? Daniel was a slave, even though he had a very important job. He was a Jew in slavery, and he worshiped the true God of Israel, and every day he would go to the window in his house and he would pray to God. He had strong faith and he had good prayer, and so he asked himself, should I change my habits in order to obey this law of the Medes and the Persians, or should I risk getting arrested and pray to the true God? Well, he struggled with his conscience and he decided, I will pray to the true God, and I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I will pray to the true God. As you can imagine, the conspirators were watching David's window, and when they saw David praying to the true God of Israel, they said to each other, now we've got him. So they went to King Darius and filed a complaint. Daniel has broken the law. He's not worshiping you. He's worshiping the true God. So by the law of the Medes and the Persians, we have to arrest Daniel and throw Daniel into the lion's den. Was King Darius happy? No, because he liked Daniel, respected Daniel. But because it was the law of the Medes and the Persians, he had to have Daniel arrested. And the punishment would be thrown into the den with the lions. And when Daniel would be thrown into the den with the lions would eat him up. And so the soldiers put a big rock over the entrance so that Daniel could not escape. And he had to spend the whole night with the vicious lions. And King Darius put his seal on the rock. These lions were wild and vicious and hungry, and Daniel was in mortal danger that they would kill him and eat him. But they didn't. Daniel prayed, and an angel shut the mouths of the lions, and they became calm and tame, and Daniel was safe. In the meantime, sad King Darius went back home, and he had a rough night's sleep. He was worried about Daniel. And so he got up early in the morning, and he put on his clothes, and he ran to the lion's den, fearing that he would see Daniel dead. But much to his joy, when he looked into the lion's den and he hollered, "Daniel, Daniel, how are you?" Then Daniel said, "King Darius, live forever." Daniel was safe and Daniel was sound, and the king knew that God had rescued him. King Darius got angry, and he ordered that those evil conspirators be thrown into the lion's den themselves. And then he and Daniel together wrote a proclamation that King Darius and all those who believed in the true God would recognize the true God and not a fake. And on this proclamation, King Darius wrote the following: "The God of Israel is the living God, enduring forever. God's kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion has no end. God delivers and rescues. God works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. For he has saved Daniel from the power of the lions." Daniel thereafter prospered during the reign of King Darius, and also the king who succeeded Darius, Cyrus of Persia. And Cyrus of Persia brought the Jews back to their homeland, Israel.
Young folks, old folks, everybody come to Kids Club and have a lot of fun. Please check your chewing gum and raisins at the door, and we'll tell you Bible stories that you never heard before. Goodbye, kids.